Hi, this is Mindy with Twilight Stitching. Thanks for visiting my channel. Today I'm going to be making up this cute little wristlet pouch. This is the Clematis by Blue Calla. It is a free pattern right here. This is one in a series of three, just three different style or fabrics. This one is a vinyl. The original pattern calls for cotton woven, which I've done one of those. But this one is in vinyl. I have this blue shimmery vinyl and a faux suede on the bottom. And then on the inside, there is a simple little pocket. This was the first pouch I used when my son started doing track meets. When I decided that I didn't want to carry my big old purse everywhere between this event and that event, and I was able to stuff my key fob in here, my phone, a couple bucks in case I wanted to go to the concession stand, and then I was pretty free to do anything else. Again, the Clematis. Go get the free pattern from Blue Calla. She's out of Canada, and let's go make the pouch. All right, so let's go over the pieces for the one that I'm making today. I'm doing a vinyl top, which is this blue pearly beautifulness with another faux suede type vinyl on the bottom. In the pattern, excuse me, they have cottons in the pattern, and they have interfaced them and added some fusible fleece. I have found that if using vinyl that I don't need to do that. The inside, I do have cotton pieces for the inside, some batiks here, and I did go ahead and add woven fuse 2 to the back just to give them a little bit more stability. I'm not really a fan of using cotton that's not interfaced, but I do have some here because the pattern asks you to sew the outside and the inside, and when you're sewing them up to leave an opening here in the bottom. And for one, I'm not a fan of having to sew up the bottom of a bag afterwards, because then you have that little ridge at the bottom. So I like to have a zipper so that I can pull everything through the zipper pocket. But I struggle with the idea of having a bag that doesn't have a zipper pocket in it. So I have 2 pieces here that will act as a zipper pocket, and I did not interface those because it's very simple pocket. Okay, so that's an exterior, interior, a couple other pieces here. So this is going to be the wristlet strap, and then the 3/4 inch swivel clasp for that, the D-ring that attaches to the body, and that has a little D-ring holder piece, the zipper for the top of the bag. I have this white, and some zipper tabs. Again, I'm not doing it exactly like the pattern. She has you open up one of these sides and sew it down like you would well, when you want it to be open. I'm okay with having a zipper tab at both ends, so I'm just gonna leave the zipper tab in. There are certain things that I just don't like to do in bags, and I find that I shy away from the bag if I have to do that. That's okay. I would rather use a zipper tab. Okay, so this interior zipper, zipper pull for the top, zipper pull for the inside. I think that's everything we got. Okay, so let's just start with, we'll get this wristlet strap done. And since I'm drawing lines and putting tape, I'll go ahead and put that on here too. The little D-ring holder. And 3/4 inch swivel clasp means that this needs to be 4 times that, which makes it 3 inches. Yep. And I'm just going to draw a line halfway down the center. The D-ring, which this gets folded over once here, and then all together. The D-ring tab only gets folded to the center, so it's half the size. Still have to fold it in half though. Quarter inch double-sided tape here. I like to put it down the middle. Some people use a piece on either side. It's whatever you prefer. I think the least amount of tape is the best. So I can get it to work with 1/4 inch, so that's what I use. So just fold into that line equally. And this is going around the D-ring. And I am just going to sew this together right here so that it will wait for later. Basted is more like it. Okay, set that aside. The similar, I'm going to go up just above the line. I don't want to go all the way to the line because I need to fold in again. All along this drawn line. So you can maybe see I didn't go all the way to the line. I got real close. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And now we're folding it again, and now it folds nicely because I don't have all that excess vinyl right there in the middle. Okay, so this is where it gets a little tricky. I'm going to put this guy on. I know it's not sewn up yet, but this allows me, I'm going to put one more clip here. I'm going to open up these ends. One end. Two end. Okay, I'm going to open up the ends, pull them together, clip them, and just sew a 1/4 inch seam to join it. Right here. It gets a little hairy here, but all you got to do is pay attention, concentrate on this little seam here, and it's all good. 1/4 inch. Back stitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, now I'm going to open them up, or open up the seam. And I think I might put just a little tiny piece of double-sided tape there, especially since it's going to be a little tougher to get everything to stick right there. Right over. Pull it off. Don't pull it off. Pull off the top. There we go. And now we're going to do the same thing to get this back in place. And fold it. Right. All right. Now we have a ring. And I already have it so that it's inside out. Actually, it's not inside out. Now it's inside out because I'm going to sew along here from the inside. Yeah. And I'm doing 1/8 of an inch, just like on the edge. I'm going to start real close to this seam. You're just going to go all the way around. Obviously, we're going to move this guy along so he's not getting in the way. And then I'm going to turn it around and do the other side. Okay. Turn it right back out. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick a spot where I can fold it right here and put a rivet right here. Okay, so I'm going to go do that. Okay, now we have a nice wristlet strap. Okay, set that aside along with this D-ring holder. All right, so the next step is to sew these bottom pieces on to the top pieces. Doesn't that look like it's going to fit? It does. Okay, I'm going to mark the centers of both the bottoms here. This is a little bit lighter than the last one I did, the lighter weight vinyl. I still think it will be fine. Oops, gonna stow away. And then I'm also going to mark the middles of the top of these. Okay, and then I'm going to add a little strip of 1/8 inch double-sided tape to the bottom of each of these. And now we're going to carefully stick these together. It will seem a little awkward, but it's okay. So centers are going to mark up the center, or match up the center. And then I'm just going to slowly stick down each section here till I get all the way to the end. Okay. Looks a little funny. I'll do the other side. Okay. There we are. And now I'll sew with, I think it's a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I know it is. With a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, now I'm not going to hold this. I'm not going to sew it yet, but you can see it fits nicely in that curve. But to make it fit even better, I am going to trim this with some these guys. Pinking shears. I'm going to trim this with some pinking shears. Not too terribly close to the stitching, just enough to, if you don't have pinking shears, you can just cut in some triangles. You're just trying to give it a little bit of leeway to get around that curve. And then we're going to press this against the seam allowance, so the seam allowance stays underneath there. And then we're going to top stitch on the bottom part all around this curve. Again, Again, a little bit bigger seam allowance because it is a top stitch. We want it to look pretty. And voila, we have one side of the exterior done. So we're going to just do the same thing over here. Okay, now we have two pieces, and I am going to add my name tag to one of these. So I'm going to choose this one. I think it looks just a tad a little better. And, well, I think this one will do just nicely. So just to help me center it, I'm going to mark a little spot here. Well, I can't see that. I'll mark here. Yeah. Piece of double-sided tape on the back of this boy. And I am eyeballing it this time. Okay. Now to do this, I'm going to make it a very small, very, very small stitch. I'm going to make sure my tails are long because I'm actually going to pull this one to the back so that there's no extra back stitching on the front. Okay, and again, lots of extra thread. So I'm going to take these two threads and pull them through the back by yanking on one, and it pulls up a little bit of thread. And I'm pulling that one from the front. Let's see that. And this one pulls up a little thread. I'm going to pull that one also from the front. Okay, now I have all four threads here. I have nothing on the front. See that? All that stitching and no extra threads. It's pretty cool. So I'm just going to tie a knot 3 times best I can. I'm going to cut these relatively short. And then I'm going to stick a little piece of tape so that nothing has any desire to unravel. Okay. Now the front's done. And I'm going to work on the inside now. I'm going to do the zipper pocket on one of the interior pieces. Set this aside. And since this is my own recipe, I have cut, what do I got here? 7. So I've got 2 pieces that are 4 by 7. I have a 7-inch zipper, and this is a number 3 zipper, so it's a little smaller, and a number 3 pull. In order to make this batiks, you can't tell the inside or the front to the back. To make this the biggest zipper pocket without making lots of fabric, I'm going to do 3/4 of an inch, the top and the sides, 3/4 inch, and now I'm going to move it. Because it's a number 3 zipper, you only move it 3/8 of an inch instead of a 1/2 inch like a normal number 5 zipper, because it's smaller in every way. So 3/8 of an inch. So you can see there's a smaller space there. And then again, 3/4 of an inch from each side. And there. Okay. Now, in order to know where to put it, I need to find the center of this lining piece and the center of this zipper pocket piece. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to go turn on my iron. And then I measure down. Let me verify this, that I'm doing this right. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, yeah. 1 1/8 inch. The top of this piece of fabric is 1 1/8 inch down from the top edge, matching center pieces. And since it's a curved edge, I'm just going to make sure that it's not wonky, and I'm just doing that from sight. I suppose I could find the center and draw a line and all that, but I think this is just fine. I'm going to put a piece of tape here to keep it down. I'm going to put one on either side. Okay, and I'm going to stitch around this rectangle with that tiny little stitch I was already on. And this technically is the back side of the batik. It's pretty hard to know that. Batiks are the same on the front and the back. right. Next step on the zipper. So I'm going to show you on the back since it's a lot easier to see. You're going to cut a line down the center of this. I know, I'll draw. You can draw these lines. After you do it a few times, you kind of get the gist of what you're doing. So, can you see that? You're going to cut along those lines. So cut down the center, and then you're going to, at the end, you're going to cut into the corners without cutting the stitches. As close as you can, but without cutting the stitches. I'm going to do it from this side after I take my tape off. All right, so now you can see a little better on the back. I cut along all those lines. Okay. So now cottons do make this a little easier. I'm going to just kind of make a crease there. We're going to stuff all these through to the back. All both sides and the little corner pieces. And just going to kind of finger press them down. Okay, so that's what it needs to look like when we're done. A little cleaner. And I'm actually going to push it all out from this side. There we go. And then I'm going to take it to the iron and iron it down flat and put this away. Okay, now it's all nice and flat and open, waiting for a zipper. Okay, so the zipper here, again, I'm going to put a line of 1/8 inch double-sided tape on either side. And now I'm going to add the zipper pull, the number 3 zipper pull. Just open her up. Stick that on about halfway. There's no good light there. Then I'm going to push this on. Try and get them even. Push it down. And there we go. The zipper pull is on. Okay, so I like my zippers to open from the left side. And this one is heading towards the left. And when I pull it back, it opens. So this is the direction it's going to go. And I'm just going to take off both of these. set it here and evenly space it without that being in the way. Stay. I usually try and do one side, get it in the middle, do the other side, get it in the middle, and then turn it this way because I can actually see better this way. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit bigger stitch and I'm just going to top stitch all around here, make a box around there. Sometimes I pull those threads to the back, but this has a pattern in it and it's not going to show. So I will just do a normal back stitch. Make sure that zip pull stays out of the way. You do not want to try and sew over that. All right. Now we've got the hole and we've got the zipper pull, but there's nothing behind it yet. Nothing to make it a pocket. I do see some threads hanging out here, so I'm just gonna make sure those are all singed down. Okay, turn to the back and we're gonna put the other piece right on top. And I find so you have couple different options here. You can go try and iron these up before you stitch. You can stitch and then iron. I have found that if I fold them so that the bottom one's going under, the top one's going up, and I give them a little pinch, that I can avoid the iron until the end. Because none of this is stitched down either, so okay, so the bottom is all put in place. So I'm just going to put a couple extra clips here to keep it together as I'm sewing around the three sides. Then turn it over. I'm going to start here at the fold, and I'm going to do a 1/4 inch seam here. I don't know if you can see this. Okay, here, making it floppy. I'm going to do a 1/4 inch seam here, but before I get to that 1/4 inch, I'm going to come in at an angle and then do my 1/4 inch. And when I get to the other side, I'm going to stop here and then I'm going to go at an angle. So I'm going to come down and go at an angle. It makes it way nicer to sew up in the end. I hope that makes sense. And my sound effects aren't distracting. Where'd my thread go? A little bit of gathering just because it's cotton without any without any interfacing on it. The machine wants to eat it. Okay, so see a little came down the side, 1/4 inch, and did an angle. So I'm just going to clip those like that, and like this, and all better. I'm going to iron this so it lays nice and flat while I'm doing this, because of course it likes to boing. Okay, I'm going to go iron it. Be right back. Okay, all ironed and flat. I'm going to open this so that when it comes time to pull it through, this zipper is open. All right, so now we've got 2 interior pieces, 2 exterior pieces. Let's put the zipper together. Let's put the zipper on. First, I'm not going to forget to put my zipper pull on. Singe the ends. Again, pull it apart. About halfway. Get them equally spaced, and I think that's right. Yep. There would be a bulge on one side or the other if this was not done properly. Excuse me. Okay, now I'm going to fold this over equally. For zipper tabs, and pull up the other side. And I'm just going to do 1/8 inch off of the raw edge. And cut off excess and separate them all. have it. All right, so before I go any further, I'm going to clip the centers of all 4 of these pieces. And I need to find the center of the zipper, but we don't clip zippers. So I'm going to use my little heat zapper. And this is also nice because I make a little cut here and I can actually see it from the front and the back, which is necessary on this project. And then I'll just do the other side. Okay. Melts back together real fast. Okay. Now we put the zipper right side up. Again, I like my bags to open from left to right. This is heading towards the left, which means if I open it this way, okay, so we're good. I'm going to right side up. Oops, double-sided tape. Okay, now I have double-sided tape on both sides and top and bottom. Okay, so I'm going to use this on the back of the purse, the wristlet. So I want the back piece to be on this. Okay, so now we take off the underside because this is right side up and so is the zipper. We're going to match up the centerpiece, center spots. And just put the zipper right along the edge. Okay, a little bit of a curve there. And now we're going to take the back side of the exterior and put it face down, right side down, so the zipper will be sandwiched between the two. And take off this double-sided tape. I like to add clips to this one. Okay, so I'm going to sew on this side because I like to sew with the zipper up. I don't want to get anywhere near going over those teeth. And I'm going to sew from the beginning to the end at a 1/4 inch seam. sure to move your zipper pull out of the way. That one's it's a little too big to get by. Okay. Pull these away from the zipper. And I am going to top stitch through both along here, but I'm going to start and stop at the end of the zipper. So I'm not going to go all the way to the end here. I'm just going to start and stop this zipper or the zipper tab. Okay. And therefore, a clip here shouldn't be in the way. You want to do your best to get that zipper out away from those seams. Without distorting things. Okay. It is a top stitch though, so we're going to make a bigger seam allowance. And start here. Okay. So, okay. Has a bit of a curve to it, but that's what we want. So now we're going to do same thing to the other side. I'm going to lay this right side up on top of the interior piece, put the exterior right side down, sew it, turn it out, and top stitch it. Okay. Now you kind of have a sneak peek of what your bag's going to look like. Isn't that pretty? Okay. So before we sew it all together, we have to sew up these darts. And it's pretty simple. You fold them together, line them up, and I usually put, well, one there and one down here, and just sew it up. Excuse me. Okay, so you can sew this direction or this direction, whatever is easiest for you. And this gets a little bit smaller seam of 1/4 inch, whereas the other seams were 3/8. And we have 8 of them to do, since we have 4 exterior and 4 interior. I like to sew them from here down, but I've sewn them all different ways, so that's just what I'm going to do today. Just whatever you do, try and do it universally. Do the same thing on all of them. I don't know if I've shown this, but it's pretty basic. And now do the rest, do the same with the interior ones. All right, now we have all the darts done. We're going to make one more thing here before we put it all together. We want the D-ring to go here. So the seam allowance is supposed to be 3/8 of an inch, but I found if I did 3/8 on the inside and 1/4 on the outside, it worked out pretty good, as long as everything matches up. So I don't want this. Well, first off, they tell you to do it like this, and I would rather have it at an angle. So if I'm going to sew at 1/4 of an inch, I obviously don't want to sew over my ring or get close to it even. So I'm just going to put it there. The instructions say to place it a 1/2 inch from the top edge. So this is where I'm going to put it. And I'm going to stitch it onto this, just the exterior. The interior is all pushed over here. Baste it on here. All right. Now we can start putting the bag together. So exterior to exterior, interior to interior. You're going to start clipping them together. Because we didn't top stitch these all the way to the edge, it makes it a little easier to get around. And if you need to, you can press the seam allowance towards the lining. But you're going to leave this sticking out, because once you turn it right side out, you won't even know it's there. Some heftier clips over here. Use these. Line up certain things that are going to be obvious, like these two places. Make sure they are matching. And your darts, you're going to do one direction and one the other direction, and then the seams will line up. And kind of do the darts and the pieces that need to match up first, and then you do want to have your zipper open and this zipper open, just as a note. Most zippers you can open from the underside, so it's not a huge deal if you forget, but they don't all open real nice from the underside. And remember, we're pulling everything through the zipper pocket, so we do not need to leave any opening at the bottom of the lining. Whatever seam allowance you decide to use, if you're going to stick with the 3/8 here, which is totally fine, try and do a little bit bigger one over here on the lining. It's going to make everything sit just a little bit more nice, a little more snug. Okay, just one more here. Okay. I think we're ready to stitch. Pockets on this side. So I think I will start. I'm just going to start wherever. I do think I'm going to start here. If I can get it. And I'm doing the bigger seam on the lining here. Not by a lot, just enough to make it sit a little nicer inside the exterior. And I just went over that D-ring tab one more time without over stitching, just one more. This guy looks a little excess here. I'm just gonna cut off a little bit of this pocket, the top that we don't need. Okay, let's see how it turned out. Okay. Looks pretty good. So I'm going to pull the pocket out. And since we did that little jaunt in, it makes the side way easier to start with. Okay, and going to stitch that up with a smaller stitch. Make sure it got both sides. That's very good. And singe those thread ends. Stuff it back in the pocket. And push out the corners to the best of your ability. Zip it up and then so the inside looks pretty good. Come on, light. There we go. See how nice that fits in there? Light. Come on. Give me some light. Okay. Okay, you can go back now. Stay in your place. Okay. Push out those corners. It's so pretty. We got this, so we'll get our little wristlet strap. And these, push these out. A little tiny hole there, so don't put anything in there smaller than that. But that makes it not bunch up there because you have these little holes. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you like it, I would love it if you could like the video, subscribe to my channel if you like watching my tutorials. This is one part of a series of 3. This one's a vinyl. I'm going to do another tutorial with a fabric one, and then another tutorial with a clear one. And those will all be linked down below. So if you'd like to see how to do those variations, please tune in. Thank you.